another episode of the Freedom Cafe, the forum for comics, another quarantine edition coming at you live from everybody's house. I am Hank, aka Frobocop. We got my man, the RZA, aka Richie.
AKA Reggie.
aka Reggie. Can't forget that.
Oh, man.
And we've got my man, Ace Hawaii, aka David Thornhill Jr., also on the mic today. Unfortunately, ladies and gentlemen, Freaky J could not make it. He is stuck on the San Francisco bridge.
Golden Gate. Yes.
Golden Gate Bridge, that's it.
On the Oakland side.
Yes. He sends his regards and stuff, but wanted us to keep the party going. So today we're just going to be kind of talking about some comedy shows and the state of comedy as it relates to kind of quarantine and stuff like that right now. We're just going to go ahead and open up the floor. Ace Hawaii and I were talking about a show that's near and dear to our hearts, Issa Rae's Insecure.
Yep.
Great show, great show. The character development, the themes and everything in that show are just so good. Dave, what are your thoughts on the show?
I love the show. I think it shows you more of what actual people go through when they're living in Los Angeles, because you have the one person who is barely getting by, and then you have somebody who's very successful in their field, and then you have another, those are the two main female perspective lead characters in the show, and then you have the male characters in there that are also they're also trying to get by, but also figuring out how adulthood is supposed to work and what's the next level, or it delves into that whole trying to keep up with the Joneses mentality, and also it delves into friendships and how friendships can change over time, and it deals with the fact that sometimes people aren't ready to change these friendships. Specifically, like one I can think of is Issa's dealing with setting up her own thing, but now her friend is finally decided to go into a serious relationship with someone, and they're having challenges because perspectives have changed because of that. And also on another side of that is Issa's friends are also dealing with the fact with one of her friends being married and having a baby, because that changes up everything too. Because you got to accept that they have a new life in their family, and things won't be the same. So if you're not able to, it shows how some of them might not be able to deal with the change at that moment, and some of them can deal with it, but it shows those two different perspectives and how to deal with different changes in friendships, different changes in jobs, different changes in relationships. And I like that because it deals with what's real, because all the flashy things, that's cool. LA's cool, great weather and whatnot, but the real focus of the story is the characters and how I wouldn't even say characters, the humans. That's how good it is. It deals with just human relationships and friendships, and I like that a lot. And that's what makes me care about the show, is they deal with many different multifaceted and very complex areas of friendships and relations with people, while dealing with social change and economics or the socio-economics of how they're living, So that's I think it's a very well done job, with sprinkles of like Frobo was saying, Hank was saying, of comedy in there, because life is it's very layered, so it ain't gonna be all fun all the time like how you see on some people's social media timelines. It's going to be varied. It's going to be, sometimes it's going to be sad, sometimes it's going to be great, sometimes it's just going to be like we here, and it's very, and it shows all of that. So that's why I like it so much, But I'm not watching it right now because I have to study for my schooling, so I'm going to binge watch the rest of it. I saw the first few episodes of it. I don't know what happened, but yes, yeah, I will binge watch it later. Yeah.
Indeed, indeed. It's a great show. And just to kind of go off what you said about how it shows like friendships in a real way without giving too many spoilers away, because I know Riz and Ace hasn't seen this season and stuff like that. There's a situation that happens where, you know, there's a breakdown in communication with two of the main characters, and how they handle it in such like a real way, I think is just brilliant. How one argument could just be solved if two people would just be able to sit down and just kind of hash it out, but it doesn't happen because, you know, life happens and stuff. I think was very brilliant writing on either Issa's or whoever else is one of the writers. I know Larry Wilmore writes on that show and stuff like that. How all that works.
Shout out to the whole writing team on
Absolutely.
that show, for real, because that's brilliant.
Absolutely, absolutely. And speaking about that and writing, and you know, also comedy, because all three of us know that, you know, comedy is hard. It's not an easy thing to do. Now with quarantine and everything like that going on, what do you gentlemen think about, I guess, like the state of comedy right now as it relates to COVID-19 and the current climate and stuff that we're in?
Yeah, I guess I can go. I just one of my coworkers actually just texted me a story this morning that the I guess the person who runs Second City out in Chicago, they're stepping back. It's like this 70-year-old. He's been like the owner or whatever for a while, and I think he stepped back. I mean, they were shut down earlier because of COVID-19, but then I think, you know, they had put out a statement about, you know, supporting Black Lives Matter and all that stuff. And then one of the performers, I guess, or former performers, like totally called them out for, how about when, you know, like in 2015, I wanted to have a Black Lives Matter like show, and you refused to do it unless we donated like half the proceeds to the Chicago Police Department, you know, so stuff like that. And then just other, you know, sort of cultural, like office cultural issues with the organization. So I think like, yeah, that is interesting, you know, as we see more. I mean, nobody's perfect, right? But I think
Yeah.
I think as we see, you know, there's more like sunshine lit on, you know, these areas, and I think it's sort of like we're at a point where it's not enough to be like not racist. You know, I think people are trying to actively be more anti-racist, right? I think that's what we're saying. And you know, everyone has, you know, I've been reading a lot in the last couple of weeks. I mean, I don't know if you both knew, but I like in undergrad I majored in ethnic studies, which is it's like sociology, but with you know, sociology focuses more on class dynamics, and ethnic studies is, I would say, like sociology with a racial and immigration lens. And then in grad school, I actually had a focus in critical race studies. So, I mean, civil rights and stuff is something I've been, you know, passionate about, but also like academically interested in since, you know, college basically. And so it is, to me, I think, heartening to see like more and more people getting politicized and radicalized to an extent, you know, like people I never would have expected, friends, family members, a lot of improv friends who, you know, to see them like posting messages to support, and it's like learning, educating themselves, figuring out like what they can do to like support the movement, which is super cool. In spite of all the terrible, you know, like police brutality, killings of, you know, unarmed Black people, all that stuff. So, I mean, you know, I think the silver lining is that like people are getting woken up to this stuff, and are actively trying to do stuff about it. So I'll get off my soapbox.
No.
That was great comment.
Oh, that was great,
man.
That was great.
I didn't know that you studied ethnic studies in college. Wow, man.
I mean, I try not to mention it because I don't want to be like, oh, look at me, I'm so radical, or like, you know, I don't want to throw my credentials at people. But so that's why, because like everyone, you know, not everyone is gonna have that privilege to like study and like know these things. So it is cool to see people like trying to educate themselves, and like, you know, you're not gonna get it right, you're not gonna be perfect, you know, in your terms of your messaging or your message support. But I think like the fact that people are willing to use their voice and speak out, you know, whatever way they can, whether it's message of support, donations, out there protesting, I think those are all great ways to do that.
Yeah, and you can hear it from me. I think that is amazing. And I'm like, yes, I'm glad Richie is my friend. Because that was great, man. Oh man, that warms
Indeed.
my heart so much.
Indeed.
And
That's
speaking
why he's the coach, man, the RZA.
yes, for real, man. And
No, yeah.
just to go off of what you're saying, like I 100% agree with what you're saying, and also I think the state of comedy is good because when I learned comedy, that the main thing, it's hard for me to watch a lot of like TV shows and whatnot because of the improv that I learned when I was out in Los Angeles, because they told me, the truth is always funny, but and now the truth is being seen by everybody, and it's not. It could be funny, but also it's making you think, and making you act, and that's the most important thing that comedy can do. Because I was watching, I saw this thing on YouTube when I was exercising, and it was talking about how Dave Chappelle did his show right after the 2016 elections over there in at Saturday Night Live. He had a show.
I remember
He
that.
just went and did a show, and he was heckled by this white woman, saying because he asked them to. He was asking the crowd to give him a topic, and he was make a set out of it. And one of the topics that came up was police brutality, and he was like, "Are you sure you want to go there?" And then he started talking about the Eric Gardner case back then. And one of the white ladies in the crowd, the heckler, she said, "Too bad, that's life," And he said, "Really? That's what you said?" And then he basically explained to her all the police brutality and how long it's been going on, and educating her about everything. And he really educated and talked to that whole crowd and made them into supporters, even her into supporters, And at the end of that show, she came up. She wanted to come back and see him, but the manager, like the house manager at the time, was just like, "No, he's busy right now." But Dave Chappelle said, "No, just tell her to come back." So he brought her back, and she, basically apologized and said, "I never knew, and I was, conditioned by, or miseducated by where I, the public education system where I'm from, and I had no idea, and now she knows, and she'll be one, I'm sorry." And then he says to her, "Just now that you've learned, now that you're educated, it's your job to speak out against any of this, of those, speak out against racism and stuff like that." And she said, "I will do that," and that's good to know that, he's a very smart comedian, but he's also very honest about it. And honesty can bring about change, because eventually you'll have, everybody has to look at themselves, especially these people who are, don't believe it, or are using, I think they do believe it, but they believe it and then they choose not to believe it, and because it benefits them in some way. So and it can't be like that. I don't and we, as a group of people who know the truth of what is really going on, we know that it can't be that way. And now, since the passing of George Floyd, and everybody's seeing that, it's like you said, it's opened up everybody's eyes to the unfairness, to the discrimination, to the to the wrongful discrimination and everything, and all the systemic racism and how these systems were created. The redlining districts. It wasn't like they call it ghettos, but they're the ones who made these for Black people back in the day, So, or for other people of color as well. So it's just like, come on, man, y'all created this. Y'all know what you need to do, Yeah. And comedy is very good to be pointing out that, and that's another thing. I like it when hecklers, when Dave Chappelle, master comedian there, taught a heckler how to become a supporter of the movement. When comedy works and you have a master of comedy doing it that way, it can be one of the greatest things.
Yeah, because I think the thing with comedy is that it's such a I mean, comedy itself is like it can be like a coping mechanism to just deal with just the terrible things in the world. So I
Yep.
think like sometimes, you know, laughter, you know, is one of the most human things we can do in the face of like such injustice. So I think it's helpful too, because I think it's helpful when you know, satire comedy, when it's done, it can have an impact that affects people more than like, you know, reasoning with them and showing them like statistics, you know, like the disparities and all that stuff. Like people can, you know, we have such an anti-intellectual bent in the society that people don't trust, you know, like studies, people don't trust experts. But if you can do it through comedy to show people why like this stuff is fucked up, you know,
Yeah.
just to show the hypocrisy or like how just, you know, how wrong things are, or where our priorities are skewed. I think doing that through comedy is such an effective medium. It doesn't always have to be, like, not everything has to be like outright political, but I think it's definitely an opportunity to infuse comedy with things like that's why films are so effective, right? Like they have
Yes.
such an emotional impact on us more than like, you know, reading like an academic paper or like a report, right? Like even if what those things are saying, you know, there's truth in those things, we can look at statistics, we can look at disparities and all that stuff, and that's helpful. Those, like, all that is needed, I think, to affect greater change, right? I don't know if you all saw like Obama had like a town hall, I think this week.
Yeah,
My brother's
I caught part of it. Yeah.
yeah, I just caught his only his speech. I know it's like a longer event, but yeah, just talking about like, you know, we need like a multi-pronged approach, basically. You know, you need like the experts and like people come up with these policies to help affect change, but you also need like, you know, you need the arts. You need you see all the, you know, the people creating visual art in support of, you know, change and stuff like that, and that can inspire people to take action. So I think you need good people everywhere.
Yep, 100% agree. Yeah.
Absolutely, absolutely. I agree with both of y'all. I think there's been an eruption of consciousness over the past week and stuff like that, and it's great. It's been great to see and stuff like that. And just like how you guys said before, it's always been there in comedy and stuff. You know what I'm saying? And now it's kind of coming up, you know what I'm saying, to the forefront and whatnot. I also wanted to talk to you both about another topic, also on the lines of comedy and everything that's been going on. I recently spoke to one of my friends out in LA. We went to film school together, and he's a comedian as well, and you know, trying to make it out in LA and everything like that. Mm-hmm. And you know, we were talking and everything, you know, he was saying, you know, Hank, I haven't been on the stage and stuff like that in a while. I haven't been able to practice any new material and whatnot. And, you know, he's thinking about actually quitting comedy altogether, just because he doesn't know when, you know, comedy houses are good, you know, when comedy houses open back up, how it's going to be and how the climate and stuff like that is going to be. Also, too, you know, will he be able to get a crowd? Will people be able to show up and stuff like that, you know, to actually want to see a show? What do you guys think about that?
I think it's really hard. When I went out to LA and I had to come back, I was just like, I don't know if I was ever going to be able to do improv the same, or, you know, have the same exposure to it, or there's just like, I was just very worried. But in this situation, it just seems like you don't know, like he said, you don't know when they're going to be able to do, like, if there's no vaccine, man, how you know, it's I love comedy, man. Don't get me wrong, I love it just like how your friend loves it, but you can't. I love my life too, you know, and you gotta.
that was kind of his point as well. You know, he loves his life. You know what I'm saying? He's got a girl and stuff like that, and you know, they're thinking about, you know, starting a family and everything. And he's just like, man, I don't know, you know. And so me and him were talking about, like, you know, maybe some alternative ways that he could use to, you know, still be, get his message out there and still be relevant. Cause there's, I guess there's like tiers of comedians and you got to do your reps and everything like that.
Yeah, you have, yeah.
So he was, we had talked about doing some virtual stuff, but no, go ahead. I didn't mean to cut you off.
No, it's okay. Another thing I learned from going to a lot of different improv places, we've been to Detroit, we've been to New York City, performed there, and I met other improvisers, and then I saw my friends from Los Angeles who were still doing it, and then sometimes I went to improv camp, and Improv Utopia East, shout out to them, they're a great camp.
Oh, you did that, Dave? Sorry,
yeah, man.
You did that? Yeah.
I love that, man. I did that for 2 years straight. Only reason I didn't go back last year or the year before is because I was in school. But it's so amazing. It's fun, man. And like when we were off the stage and we're not talking about comedy, we were talking about life. And the cost of living is only going to get higher and higher, especially now that COVID is happening, because there's going to be a big, we're already seeing the effects of that with the economy, and it's not going to recover for a long time, despite what, these, economists are saying, certain economists are saying. So it's every time I go back and meet one of my friends from LA and they say that, they say, Dave, you're doing great. Please go to nursing school because it's getting harder and harder to survive just on comedy in Los Angeles. I could have a commercial. My friends have commercials. They have national commercials making money, but you don't know when that money's ever going to come back, man. Yeah. And it's a hard life to live. Like, it's very stressful. People think they're just skinny because they always working out. No, man, they are stressed out, bro. So, and I remember when we even went and we got our comic book signed by Mike Coulter, the actor who plays Luke Cage, and he also has that other show right now on CBS. He said to me, man, look, man, you're the real hero because you're becoming a nurse. I have many friends in LA out there who are nurses or doctors that are acting. So you're doing the right thing. So eventually, most people who are actors or comedians, they have to have some type of job or either or a career and then do that on the side, until that takes over. I went out there the way and just I had like a massage therapy thing, but that now I was just like, I can't do that for the rest of my life. Then got back into that career. So long story short, I think what he's doing is he's growing and he's realizing he wants a family, he wants a better life. Comedy can't provide that unless you have to devote more time to it, but you also have to have the finances in order to support that dream. And stuff ain't free. Bills are always going to come, and it's only going to get worse. So I think it's like me. I have a steady job. The steadiest job I had for the last 2 years was the one that Fribble gave me when I was working at Zog Sports as a referee part-time. So while I'm going to school trying to become a nurse. So I would just say to him, look, you can always do comedy in different ways. Try to write, try to just get books out, or try to come on this show with us, with Hank and with Frobo and the richness, so you can get another point of view. That's great. So we can at least have this as a way to get your creativity out, and then just figure out a way to make money. Have a certification in something, so you can support yourself, and one day, like you said, support your family, because you said you got a girl. Shoot, I want to be like y'all, have a nice fiance or wife and a kid and a place of my own, and still be able to be around my family and do this with y'all, because at the end of the day, that's what life is. If we get famous off this, cool. I don't really, that's cool. That's like a benefit. But my main thing here is I'm making stuff with my friends that I love, and we're doing something fun. I know Freak J would be like, man, I'm very fond of you guys. You know what I'm saying? I'm very fond. I'm not gonna say I love this guy, but that's what I'm saying. I don't even afraid to say it. I love y'all, and I just wish. Thank you. I just wish for him to go ahead and for your friend to get a certification, get a career, along with his comedy career, so he can keep going. You know, this is the way I keep going. You know, if I didn't have, you know, and I like to, you know, practice guitar and play and whatnot. But that's just me. What do you think, Rich?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing in the news right now, like, you know, sports coming back, and that's what to me is like the closest analogy to like other performing art, like it's like entertainment and sports, right? Those are the
Yeah.
fields that are like hurting a lot right now, like movies, TVs, all that, production's down. I know like comic book industry with comic book stores closed, like that's on hiatus, right? No one's buying like in-person comics right now, so that's hurting.
Yeah.
Digital is only like such a small percentage. So yeah, I think everybody's hurting. So I mean, I would imagine theaters, live venues, there's,
Yeah.
you know, they already operate on super thin margins. Like I know, right? Like Dave, you were not like a couple years ago. I remember visiting like IO West, and that's since shut down, right?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
Yeah, and it's like they're operating. You know, their margins are so thin. They're relying a lot on basically they're operating as bars that offer comedy, right? Like
Yep.
their licenses is what gets them a lot of the dollars and
Yep.
keeps them in business. So if they're not be able to open, and even if they're open at like, you know, because of the local ordinances, they're only allowed like half capacity or like a third capacity. I've heard in some cases. Then, you know, that's gonna hurt everybody's like bottom line. So,
Yep.
yeah, I think one, you know, like I think perhaps the silver lining is that with everyone is getting more accustomed to like online digital content now, and so maybe that's a way to do it. I know it's definitely not the same, right? Like
Yeah.
seeing you guys on screen is nice, but like there's definitely a total difference when we're in the same room, right? In terms of like chemistry, we can riff off each other, we get like instant reactions,
Yeah.
and it's just more fun, right? I mean, this is
Yeah.
fun too. But comedy, you know, when especially like I think your friend did stand up, so that's such a like immediate, like you
Yeah.
have an audience reaction, you know, even if there was like audio, like audience, like the audio came through, you know, and you could hear people's reactions. It's totally not the same.
Yeah.
I know, like, but then that's where you know you can start adapting it, right? Like video sketch versus in-person sketch and sort of stuff. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
those are my
Yeah,
thoughts. So, what do you
absolutely.
think? I mean, you asked the question, but what do you think, Hank?
Yeah.
Oh, you know, I was actually at a loss because of, you know, some of the things that you guys had brought up with, you know, the instant audio, you know, instant audience reaction and stuff like that, you know, because he was, you know, when I was talking to him, he was like, you know, this is who I am. This is what I want to do. You know, I want to, you know, make it big out in LA. You know, I want to be out in the clubs, out, you know, grinding and stuff like that. And he's like, I can't do that right now. He's like, this situation, it sucks so bad and stuff like that. I was like, man, yeah, I hear you, you know. He's like, is there any, you know, maybe, you know, we could set up like a virtual kind of deal and stuff like that. And he was like, yeah, you know, I appreciate it, Hank, man, that's cool, but you know, I don't know if that's, you know, I don't know if that's for me. You know what I'm saying? I may think, you know, I'm thinking about maybe, you know, pursuing something different just because, you know, how everything's changed so much. And, you know, when stuff opens back up, you know, I know already that, you know, he's not guaranteed to, I guess, be where he is before COVID happened. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Because there's when you pay your dues, you're in the scene, and now that you know the scene is gone, it's like, you know, what do I do? You know,
For sure.
and so but
He's in LA. He said where?
Yeah.
he's in LA. I can't remember like actually where, but he's in the LA area and stuff like that. A good dude. I'm actually see if I can get him to, you know what I'm saying, maybe come on the show one of these
Oh
days.
yeah,
Like that.
yeah.
Yeah, man.
He's a comic book aficionado as well, so I
Oh,
will try to get him to be a guest on the show and stuff like that. So, but yeah, you know, definitely an interesting discussion. He is talking about doing. We did talk about doing some more writing and stuff like that because you know, right now with everything being shut down, all production houses and everything, he's like, are just shut down. Like there's nothing going on right now in LA. So says writing is, you know, been helping him out and stuff like that, and writing scripts and everything. Seems to be a good coping mechanism and stuff. So But
What about going back to, I guess, our initial discussion about Insecure? Where in LA does she live? Like the characters? I'm just curious. I again not being too familiar with the show, just because I don't have
Dave,
HBO.
you know location better than I do. I just think LA is LA, but there's like
LA is huge.
different parts. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So
She lives in Inglewood.
Okay.
And then I think her other friend is from Inglewood, but she lives over in like downtown LA, you know where the financial district is.
Yeah. Yeah. That's fancy.
And then another one of her friends, the guy, he lives, I think
My
he
mom
lives.
used to work in Inglewood.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
My aunt still lives over there, like in
Yeah.
man. Inglewood, it's weird because Inglewood is right next to Marina Del Rey. I didn't know that, you know.
Yeah.
I was
And
like,
View Park. It's like the Black Beverly Hills.
yeah. And Baldwin Hills too. Baldwin Hills, yeah.
I think that's where Lawrence lives, right? Is Baldwin Hills?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's another area that's on the show. That's all I can think of right now.
Yeah, Inglewood is changing too. Inglewood, like it's like one of those areas like Brooklyn and Oakland that's you know, just because people can't live in the San Francisco or Manhattan, they're starting to move into gentrifying areas basically. And Inglewood is like, and then because of right, is it the Rams Stadium and
football stadium.
The Clippers are gonna move there too. So
that price is gonna go up even more.
Yeah. Because I mean, the Forum, you know, that's where the Lakers used to play before they moved downtown. That was in Inglewood.
Yep.
And that, you know, those dollars really make a difference. So
yeah,
it'll be interesting to see what happens. Because, you know, Inglewood, you hear Inglewood, it's a black, you know, city, or it's a black neighborhood, right? It's like one of those areas you associate. Like with Brooklyn, you think of obviously there's other immigrant populations, but like, you know, from hip hop, right? From hip hop culture.
You think of Bed-Stuy, Iverson, you know. You think of Marcy Projects because of Jay-Z, Bed-Stuy because of Biggie, and then Inglewood always up to no good because I always thought like Tupac and
even Hollywood tried to get a piece of it, baby.
Yeah, you know.
Yeah.
Oh, everything changes, man. Yeah.
Indeed. Man, great discussion, gentlemen. Great discussion. I don't know if we necessarily solved the problem, but I do believe that we gave, you know what I'm saying, some grateful insights on, you know what I'm saying, the state of comedy with a little help from Insecure and stuff. So for folks who are not familiar with the show, it is a show that's on HBO. I believe it comes on, new episodes air on Sundays around like 9 o'clock or something like that. They're in, what is it, the 4th season, Dave, I believe?
Yeah, 4th season. I think the 4th season.
Season.
I can fact check that real quick.
Yeah, 2 more episodes, I believe, are left in this season. So folks definitely check it out and stuff. And
they've been picked up for a 5th season as well.
Nice.
Excellent. Excellent. And I think that is about it, folks, for this episode. The Richness, is anything else you'd like to add?
No, let us know what your thoughts on comedy or Insecure are in the comments.
Yep. And if you like this video, go ahead and give us a like and subscribe on our page if you like what you see. Yep.
Absolutely. And if you guys want to give all the smoke to Freaky J for not showing up to episode, his Instagram and Facebook is down below. So make sure you guys, you know what I'm saying, just serve them up. And this has been another episode of the Freedom Cafe, ladies and gentlemen. I am Frobocop.
I am Issa Rae.
And I'm The Riz.
We out.
Been a long time, maybe too long.